my guest this morning, who has been referred to as the $6 million man, not only by Tom Murphy from Sweethearts and Heroes, but by several others too. And I got to tell you, Jim McHugh, Jim, I have seen interviews of you. I've seen some podcast episodes and some YouTube stuff where you have been featured, and I am so inspired by you, my friend. You define resilience. What you've been through is staggering. How are you, my friend? Good morning.
I'm great, JD. Pleasure to be here. Honor to be here. Happy anniversary. I've got kind of a unique story. I'd probably be happier to not have the story I have, but I've been through some unique experiences for sure.
Folks are going to take this episode this morning, and they're going to, I think anyway, walk away with your story on their minds for the rest of the day. And as I said last night, possibly the rest of the week. And as Tom would say, hopefully forever, they will think of Jim McHugh, my guest this morning on the Aired Out podcast. You start out your day, and I just noticed, with a big old smile on your face. I'm not so sure that folks that have been through half of what you've been through would look and sound like you this morning, my friend.
Well, it's kind of easy. My line of work, to be honest, I'm a very proud educator of 38 years. Always knew I wanted to be an educator. Knew it when I was in middle school, high school. Went to college to be a teacher, became a teacher, proud to be a teacher. It's gotten, challenging, and it's every day is a challenge, but the work we do as educators is so important that, you need to bring a smile and you need to bring your best effort every day. And, maybe your best is 60% on any given day, but you got to make sure you give that 60%. So the work we chose to do, it's an honor to do, and we need to do it well, and we need to do it with a smile on our face.
And I am speaking this morning to the principal of a middle school, Goff Middle School.
Correct.
In New York.
Correct.
Okay. Grades, what now? 6, 7, 8?
So we serve about 940 students in grades 6, 7th, and 8th. So I've been here at the middle school for, this is year 4 for me.
Year 4.
Correct.
You said 940 kids?
946 7th and 8th graders. So I've done it all. I've been in the, I was a classroom practitioner for 17 and a half years, and was a dean and assistant principal at the high school. I coached for my entire teaching career. I was in an elementary for 10. I was a central administrator for 6. Been in a middle school. I've had the honor and privilege to be in a middle school for the last 4. Middle school's a different breed. Your goal is to find faculty and staff that love being in a middle school. It's very different. It's a time of growth, tremendous growth for students. So you have to have thick skin. You got to know that every day is a new day for our students that we serve. And you have to have the expectation that, middle school students make some poor decisions, and you got to try to find a teaching moment in every one of those experiences and interactions. So the middle school is never boring. We dismiss at 2:40. By 4 o'clock, this old guy's tired.
A teaching moment in every opportunity. I'm trying to do that as a dad with one 10-year-old girl.
Yeah, I'm a dad of 4. All of mine are grown into young adults, but being a parent helps you become a better educator too. That the mindset of not my child disappeared quickly as soon as I had my own children.
Yeah, right. Same here. Oh my God. 940 kids, and there's how many of you have been cloned, Jim?
How many? Say it again.
How many Jim McHughes have been cloned?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I mean, seriously, one principal?
No, I have three outstanding assistant principals, and to be honest, I couldn't be more proud to lead this building. I have great faculty members. I have great staff members. So this place runs pretty smooth because of the talent that's in this building. My goal since I've been here is don't screw it up.
I, I honestly, I can't imagine. I mean, we're going to get into your life and how remarkable it is that somebody like you, with what you've been through, is doing what you're doing. But man, it's like there's got to be some awards hanging on your wall. Your superintendent must absolutely love you. Your school board must love you.
Well, I hope so. The average, I think, national average for a central administrator is about 5 years now, and boards change annually. So you're as good as your last at bat. So my goal has always been to go out with the same amount of energy and commitment to the students and families that I serve that I started with. So sometimes I need to remind myself, our kids and our families deserve the best. Our faculty and staff, deserve a leader that can make sure that they're able to do the important jobs and the important work that they do on a daily basis. So how can you support faculty and staff? How do you model what you expect from others, and how do you develop that culture and mindset in a building this large? So that's a challenge, and I remind myself of that daily.
Are you, I was going to say, are you reminding yourself daily of your own lessons? I mean, you must be telling kids things. You must be telling staff things, messages of hope and determination and drive. And then you've got to get in the car at the end of the day and say, man, that's like half of the stuff that I'm telling myself outside of the school.
I think it's natural, there's so much focus on mental health and social emotional learning. And, it's a balance scale. It's a kind of a continuum. That balance can shift any given day. The reality that everybody's going to face challenges, and that could impact the amount of energy and their attitude on any given day. You have to remain focused. This is important work. We're not in a cubicle. We're not manufacturing a product. We're working with human beings. We're working with kids. What we say, what we do, what we don't say, what we don't do could impact the trajectory of their lives. So, this is tough work. So it's important that leaders, if you're really a leader, and anybody can be a leader, that you acknowledge the good work that others do. You got to show gratitude, and you got to show appreciation. And you have to understand that people make mistakes and move on from that. So, I love being around the kids. I meet them in the foyer every single morning. I'm the one that opens up the front doors. I get a lot of fist bumps. Some of our football players are walking with their football helmets on, like to give me a headbutt. So,
Wow.
I mean, there's great energy in the building, so it's good, great opportunity.
Tom Murphy sent me a text last night saying, "Get tough with Jimmy." So here's a question for you. Do you ever, you better be honest with me, do you ever wish at the end of the day that you did have that cubicle job?
Never,
Wow.
never, not once. It's been a blessing. What a great career. Never wanted to be a school administrator. Don't really tell anybody I'm a school administrator. I like to refer to it as an educator, and school administrators are educators. But I'm a dad of four, so got tired of teaching and tending bar and pushing wheelbarrows, and it was an opportunity to make a little more money, make a bigger impact, influence others. So I feel like my life played out perfectly. I have found tremendous reward and satisfaction in the work that I've done. Still got energy in the tank. I retired in June of 2022. That lasted a month and a half.
Wow.
So,
A
but
month
I
and a
still love it.
half.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I think you know that. I think many know that.
Yeah, I mean, I think about when it's important to be real with people too. Like, you made mistakes as a child. If you could wind the clock back, you think about the things you did, the interactions you had with people. You have some regrets, some learning experiences there. I think mindfulness and just owning that stuff and thinking about it, thinking about how those experiences impacted you, and getting the right message out to students. It's great to go in a cafeteria, sit with a table of students, and just have a conversation. The one thing I learned is probably the most important thing that we do or can do is develop relationships with others, developing relationships with students, developing relationships with their families, developing relationships amongst your faculty and staff, that when somebody's down, does everybody step up and help that person? That's a great mindset to kind of bring to every day.
Are you able to sense a student that is maybe dodging the radar and having a tough time with something that's maybe not being discussed, even amongst their friends? And are you able to sense that? Are you able to grasp that and feel that you have made a real difference and that you've been effective?
I would hope, when we talk about bullying and we talk about mental health and we talk about chronic absenteeism, which every school building, struggles with, you got to get down to the root causes, and, why aren't students coming to school? Why are they struggling academically? The correlation is clear as daylight that, poor school attendance usually equates to poor academic performance. Why aren't they coming to school? Looking at kids that just aren't interacting and engaging. And, I'm blessed with some great security monitors and great monitors in this building that really see the kids. Our bus drivers, they're the first ones to see our kids, last ones to see them at the end of the day. They get to see where these kids are coming out of which houses and where they live. Though that information is critical. We make sure our kids are engaged in the cafeteria, that they're not sitting alone, they're not isolated. Have great guidance counselors and social workers, and it's at the forefront of what we do. I always say kids before content, right? So we take care of kids.
Wow.
We are responsible to teach content, but we take care of kids.
I say this almost every single Wednesday when I have someone on from Sweethearts and Heroes. I'll say it again this morning. This world is different now than when you and I were little kids. There is so much else that's going on. So many other factors, so many other distractions. When you and I were kids, it seemed, anyway, like we went to school, we learned our core curriculum. There was some goofing around here and there. We got in trouble. We went to the principal's office. By the way, I would hate to be in your office. And then, we may have been disciplined. We may have been guided a little bit, but then, and maybe even a threat that our parents would be called, which is a big deal back then. And then we would go home and do our homework and ride our bikes and get on with life. Man, there is so much more going on right now, Jim. My God. I mean, look at what's happening in schools, school shootings, and you've experienced some of that.
Yeah, unfortunately I have. What I will say is, I listen to a lot of people say, kids have changed. And, I've been in the field of kids for 38 years. I don't think kids have changed. I think the world's changed a little bit, and what kids are exposed to. We think about when we were in school, and did bullying exist? It did. What now exists is cyberbullying, and that's taken a whole different format, right?
Yeah.
Like that's 24/7. Kids can't escape it. And not to be on my soapbox, but I do think technology has had a tremendous impact. We could talk about positive impact technology's had. Well, it's had a lot of negative impact as well.
Yeah.
But I think about what our kids are constantly bombarded with: social media, political climate, just the discourse, the lack of human civility. You can't get away from it. It's on the news, it's on the world news, it's on the local news. What kids have those earbuds in, and the music that they're listening to, and the lyrics in some of these songs, that those things all impact kids' social, emotional well-being. And it's hard, especially middle school. Where do kids fit in? Who are they as a person? Who do they want to be? Social isolation, just the social apps, TikToks and Snapchat.
Yeah.
And that's what's changed.
What happened? Where were you in 2020? What was going on with COVID? With what you do every day?
Yeah, so I was the assistant superintendent of our school district during COVID. So,
wow.
Yeah, we were open one day, and then, we were closed the next day. So, again, really proud to be a long-time employee of my school district. I feel like we were ahead of the game. We had a one-to-one initiative. Students had Chromebooks. For us to transition into virtual instruction, it wasn't a heavy lift. But think about it. We're talking about too much screen time, and then we go into virtual learning, which we just add to the screen time, and the lack of social interaction, and kids that were in tough living situations being in that living situation longer, not getting that 7-hour break and being able to come to school. So I took a lot of heat. We had to figure out how to transition back, and the Department of Health and New York State Education Department. It was daily changes, and we were adjusting on the fly when we could bring students back into school buildings, the social distancings, the things that we had to do. Do I still see the impact of COVID? I do. I think we're coming out of it a little bit, but there was some long-standing impact from that experience.
Let's talk about, yeah, man, and we could do several podcast episodes about just that in itself alone. On a personal note, you have had a lot of crap stacked up high on top of you. And I've heard a little bit of it, and how you're able to do what you do, knowing what I know, is staggering. Your life took a dramatic turn. What happened? Tell us, before you even say another word, I gotta just say, man, I got a long driveway, and every single morning I bring my little girl to school. And when we drive down the driveway, I'm usually fumbling with this, fumbling with that, making sure she's got her seatbelt on. Sometimes I pull out of my driveway and get onto the main road and put my seatbelt on a half a mile down the road. And my little 10-year-old will give me grief and remind me to put the seatbelt on. Mm. I heard an interview that you had done not too long ago. now I don't need my kid getting on my ass to put my seatbelt on before I leave the driveway. Because of what I heard from you, I'm buckled before I even get out onto the main road. Life can happen really fast. Please do share if you're willing to.
Yeah, again, I classroom practitioner and a coach for 17 and a half years, 17 years of having the privilege to coach student athletes and tell them to push harder and suck it up. Are you injured or are you hurt? You're all right, get up, keep going. So that stuff's made a tremendous impact on me too. It's important that we model what we have been saying throughout our whole career. I think, being a student athlete, it also helped, prepare your mindset a little bit. But, in 2007, it was the first day of school, and it was my first day as a building principal. So, I had done the typical transition from classroom practitioner to an administrator. I went in as a dean of student at the high school. I became an assistant principal and then had the privilege to be selected to be an elementary principal in our district. Typical first day of school. We had our oldest was going into sixth grade, so he was transitioning toward middle school. It was his first day in middle school. I had two boys in elementary school. My youngest son was starting kindergarten that day. I had a daughter in preschool at the time. My wife was a kindergarten teacher. She taught kindergarten for 33 years, and her tradition, and a lot of people can relate to this. The whole family went out front and we took the first day of school photo.
Oh yeah.
So took the first day of school photo, and left and got about a mile from my house and went around a turn just before the high school, and a guy driving a pickup truck crossed the double yellow line and hit me head on. I had two compound fractures, both legs. I had broken wrists, broken fingers, cervical spine issues, had a lot of internal issues, almost bled out that day. Telling the truth, I did not put my seatbelt on. I was working on it. I was organizing things and got on the car and drove and figured I'd snap up maybe at the first red light, and a pickup truck crossed the WL line and hit me head on. I went through 15 surgeries and spent well over 100 nights over in Albany Medical Center, that I had to endure. So quite a challenge. Missed the first year as being a principal, started again in July 1 of the following year, 2008. But quite a situation for my family. And, I remember being in the car. I was wide awake until I got to the hospital. And then I don't remember much until later that fall.
Just processing what you're saying. I mean, this is remarkable. This was your first day as a principal, and you never even made it to school.
No, I never made it to school. The car behind me had two of my former football players in it that came to the car to make sure I was all right. Our athletic director secretary was also a first responder. She was in a few cars behind me. She crawled in the back window of my vehicle and remained with me until I was extricated and from the vehicle, which took quite a long time to get me out of the car. I think the police went to my house and got my wife and brought her to the hospital. And she got to the hospital before I got to the hospital. So I knew I was in trouble once I got to the hospital by everybody's response. But once I got there, I don't remember too much. They took care of my internal injuries. I think they iced my legs for about 5 days till they stabilized me enough to bring me in and work on my legs. So quite an experience, quite an ordeal.
You only have one leg now.
I do. I remounted from the automobile accident, right back to the gym. I went back into wrestling practice and was wrestling. I did a little bit of jujitsu. Because I was a school administrator, I couldn't coach anymore, but I was officiating. had the privilege of officiating our Section 2 championships, and had some chronic leg pain. Figured I probably should go to the bone and joint, the hospital, and have it just checked. Wound up being an osteosarcoma in my right leg. Went to Boston, had a above knee amputation in 2016, and had to go through chemo. So 9 years recovered from the automobile accident. And then unfortunately I was dealt with another challenge with osteosarcoma, and then had to figure out how to navigate with a prosthetic leg. Went back to work. I probably had the amputation in August of 2016 and went back to work in February.
Damn, fella. This is really something else.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where people are watching you, right? Like, there's a lot of student athletes out there that I've interacted with that had me in their face barking at them that they were all right. You're okay. Suck it up. It's not broke, So I knew there were a lot of people watching me and responding, seeing, wanting to see how I responded. So again, as an educator, it's an opportunity to model what you've been preaching and push on, So what I do say to everyone is, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter what you do, sooner or later, you're going to be faced with adversity. You're going to be faced with challenges, and it's important to have a skill set to be able to deal with those things. So again, I'm a big proponent of athletics. I think athletics is a privilege for students, but it's a great opportunity for students to develop a skill set that, I don't think they really develop anywhere else in the academic world. I don't think they're getting it in science or math class. They may have to learn how to persevere and how to figure things out and how to problem solve, but there are some unique skill sets that go from athletics. And I think I've been blessed to kind of have that mindset.
I'm all over the road here with my thoughts, man. It's like I'm just, first of all, I'm still taken to a dad who was not able to be home when his kid finished the first day of kindergarten. That in itself alone it's a big deal, man. And obviously you've got a very strong family, and your wife, your kids, got to be the center of all this, man.
Yeah, I think that's part of your parent responsibility too, right? Like, your kids are watching you. Parents set the example and set the tone for their kids, and I knew the kids were watching me as well. So, how's Dad going to handle it? What's he going to do? And as far as the amputation, I knew the leg wasn't coming back, so figure it out. You can curl up in a corner and cry about it, or you can figure it out. So, had the amputation, and it's not like you walk out of the hospital with a prosthetic leg. That process has taught me patience, and that's a process as well, right? So, figure it out, move on. So still pretty active, still go to the gym, still exercise. And, to be honest, sometimes I sit down in the school and the kids will see the prosthetic leg and they'll be shocked. They'll be like, are you missing your leg? And I take that as the biggest compliment. Like, my walk's not that too bad that the kids didn't even know I had a prosthetic leg. So for the most part, they know now, how quickly that travels through a building.
Yeah. Especially with being a principal of 940 kids. Unbelievable. Right there, we could stop and say, you're a superhero. No wonder why Tom Murphy refers to you as the $6 million man. You are one tough man. You have been through a lot, and you talk about you've said skill sets several times, that you've got to have the skill sets. to get through life, and that adversity is coming your way, no matter who you are, no matter how old you are, and no matter what stage you're at in life. But man, it's skill sets, yes, but attitude. That's your attitude is amazing, Jim. I know you've been told this before.
Well, I appreciate that. Um, I see that as the educator hat too, right? Like, I think we're living in a time that's so unique, with AI,
Yeah.
entering the field. And I think there's never been a bigger opportunity to think about what we teach and what's important and how we teach. AI is not going away.
No.
So there's some benefits to it. There's some setbacks and drawbacks as well. There's a lot of unknowns, but when we think about traditional curriculum, and it's at your fingertips now. We're a one-to-one school, meaning that K-12, every student has a Chromebook, a personal device, cell phones now. Our elementary principals see them in the elementary building. We've been cell phone free in our building for 3 years now. So even though it's a New York State requirement, we had already had 2 years of that under our belt. But memorization of facts and things like that, it's at your fingertips now. But teaching kids how to challenge respectfully and how to determine whether or not what they're looking at or what they're reading is fictional, or is it factual. Being able to challenge things in a respectful, civil manner, being able to interact and being able to handle challenges and develop skill sets to be successful adults. That should be at the forefront of what we're doing as educators.
How did you meet the team at Sweethearts and Heroes? Tell me about the inception of that and the impact that Tom and his team has had on your school with 940 kids.
Yeah. So, again, I had the good fortune to be able to coach wrestling in the district that I work in. So the wrestling community is extremely tight. That's a tight, loyal community. So Tom and both Jason at the time, I've known Jason for a long time, my entire coaching and teaching time. I knew Jason before I even became an educator. So heard about Sweethearts and Heroes, and really didn't know exactly what it was about. But when I was an elementary principal, I brought them into our elementary building. They were a tremendous hit amongst our students, and the students go home and they talk to their parents about it. The parents ask questions, and I sat in on all those presentations, and my thought process, aligned with their thought process. So I was like, they're giving the right message, they're giving informations, and they're teaching kids a skill set. They talk about all the drills we do, fire drills and lockdown drills, but what do we do to teach kids the skill set to handle bullying and cyberbullying? And what do the statistics say? I think the statistics say about 40% of all students that do experience bullying don't tell anybody about it.
Sure.
So I think Tom's message is very important. We talk a lot about modeling, like, if we want our kids to act with civility and respect, and we want them to be kind, and, we're with these kids for 180 days a year for 7 hours a day. We better be modeling that same kindness and same behavior. So, again, I brought Tom and Sweethearts and Heroes, Rick, and Jason into the elementary building that I was leading at the time. When I became an assistant superintendent, they became part of our professional development plan. We brought them in to teach or to work with students. We brought them in to work with faculty and staff. And then that's continued. I think Tom and Rick have been here at Goff on 2 occasions, 2 out of the 4 years that I've been sitting in this seat. They do good work. Their message is real. And it's a reminder that kids need to develop these skill sets to be able to handle tough situations like bullying and sense of belonging, and what do we do when we see it? And it's such a touchy subject. I think as educators, to be honest, sometimes we know where it happens. These types of negative behaviors occur in times where students are less supervised. But there's also times that we, as educators, see something, we hear something, we know it's a real challenge to address. We know that there may be some conflict, when we communicate with parents about what we saw and how we're handling it, that sometimes we ignore it. We chalk it up as kids being kids, or, hey, they're just fooling around, or, maybe I didn't hear it correctly. And, I emphasize the fact that if, we see something, we hear something, we say something, we do something, like, it's just unacceptable behavior in our building. This building's culture is built on respect and kindness. And are we perfect at that? No way. There's no school that's perfect at that, but it's great to strive for that, right? And say, hey, zero tolerance on it. We're going to treat people with respect here.
You're a dad of how many kids?
4.
4 kids. I think most parents, I know I've been guilty of this, have had this this notion of, well, hang on a second, not my kid. I mean, naturally, we defend our kids, and you've had to deal with parents who that's been justified, and in other cases, they're not seeing the light. They're not seeing the reality. You're with these kids for most of the day, and a lot of the time, if you break down hour by hour, your staff is with these kids more than their own parents are. What do you say? What do you say to those parents that just jump to defend their kids? There's a lot of stuff that's taken out of context, and you got a great point. Kids will be kids, man, and it's like there's a fine line between that and bullying.
I don't mind parents advocating for their children. I think they should be the number one advocate for their children. And I think as an educator, you have to have the right mindset. Kids make bad decisions. That doesn't make them a bad kid.
Yeah.
So we made bad decisions. I can go on another podcast and speak for hours on all the bad decisions that I made. I do use, kind of a funny story. My kids range from 21 to 30 now. I have an assistant principal in this building, and I always make fun of her because the first student she suspended from school was my kid. And he's turned out to be a great young man.
Suspended?
Yeah. So,
there's a story there, my man.
You know what? I'm telling you, it's important to remember that kids make mistakes.
Sure.
Doesn't make them a bad kid. They made a bad mistake. So where's the teachable moment? Where's the learning opportunity? And when you speak as an educator, I think it's really important to be mindful of the fact, how would you like somebody to talk about your own child to you? So when you're picking up the phone call or the phone, or you're meeting with somebody in person, just thinking about, how are you going to present? How are you going to phrase this? How are you going to interact with the parent? And put it back in perspective, right? It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's a teachable moment. There was a mistake made. We're going to, restore, we're going to make good, and circling back to those things, right? Kids are growing, right? Like, what do they say? A male's human brain's not fully developed until about the age of 27. So
hang on a second. I thought it was 25. Come on.
Yeah, I think it's up there. So it's a bumpy ride till you get there, but hang in there, love them up, and know that they make mistakes, and every day's a new opportunity, right? Like, okay, let's start anew, have some thick skin, and move on.
And man, there's also the factor of, a lot of it, you say, see something, say something, but sometimes as adults, we're trying to figure out the context of a lot of stuff, and whether or not, well, I don't know, man, maybe I'm being too petty if I say something. Again, kids will be kids. Let them play. I mean, kids are brutal, man. You know that. You're a principal of a middle school with 940 kids. They can be cruel with their mouths, their words.
Yeah, that's what's changed, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, kids, have more courage behind a screen, right? Like, there's, people make these anonymous posts and they push things out social media. You got all these deep fakes, and
Yeah.
I think having discussions, right? Like, again, you know, we have to think about what we teach and how we teach it, right? Like there is general information that's at our fingertips now, right? Like, do we really need to memorize dates and certain things? There's importance to that, but teaching kids, the impact of what we say to others or what we do to others is important too. Do you understand how that can make somebody feel? And really, there you have to really assess the situation. But when you say zero tolerance, there's zero tolerance. So I've always been a school administrator that, hey, I respect what you value at home. I respect how you handle things at home, but this is our house, and we set the rules here. So if it's acceptable in your house, okay, but it's not acceptable here. So,
Wow.
we take a firm stand on that. But, the other thing is that, just an awareness and being proactive, and these, I always talk about, it's got to be embedded in your daily practice, right? Like, you know, what's a typical thing that educators say? They say, "Oh, we're student centered," and the question is, what does that mean? How would I know you're student centered? What would I see? How walking in your building and being new in your building, how would I know that, hey, your school, that school's student centered? What do you do? Why do you say you're student centered? And you can't just say it, right? Are you student centered, and why are you student centered? What do you do on a daily basis? It's embedded. It's part of your culture. You can tell that it's one of your priorities, right? And the other thing is that, you cannot underestimate the value of relationships, right? So classroom teachers, support staff, relationships, like, you should be spending, you want less discipline issues, spend more time on relationship building, get to know your kids individually, get to be able to read your kids really well, get to know their interests outside of school, get to know what personal challenges they may have. You want to keep that open line of communication, right? Same thing as a parent. There were a lot of times that I found information, and I didn't know if I wanted to come out with it yet, right? Like, is this the one I want to reveal? Like, hey, I'm watching you, right? Like, is this the one? So I wanted my kids to be able to talk with me, right? So, we talk about, Tom and I've had a lot of conversations about dinner table discussion, right? Like that's gone nowadays. We still have Sunday dinner in my house, and my kids better show up unless they're, hospitalized or incarcerated. They better be at Sunday dinner. But the value of that dinner table conversation, we all live busy lives. Conversation in the car, turn off the radio, just talk to your kids. Try not to be judgmental about everything. But, I continue to try to bombard my kids with the right message. And I think all of that stuff is really important.
Wow. No wonder why Tom says you're a legend. I mean, that stuff right there, what you just said, put goosebumps on my arms, man. That's what it's about right there. And we got several comments here saying that it comes down to the parents. The parenting is, and many of us have a lot of work to do when it comes to parenting. Many of us, maybe, I'm just going to say it, Jim, maybe we shouldn't have been parents, and we have a lot of work to do. We have this precious gift that we've been given. And some of us, as parents, are not doing the job as well as we could or should. And we need work. We need to surround ourselves around other adults and other parents who maybe can set a good example of what it means to be a better parent. You may not ever earn the badge of great parent or perfect parent, but just try to do a little bit better every single day. Man, that's so hard. Be fair to yourself too, because there's going to be days and there's going to be weeks where you're just going to feel like a crappy parent. But just try to push on and realize that you're here for a very limited amount of time, and you have this opportunity to be the best parent that your kid really needs. And give yourself a break. Again, you're not going to be perfect, but we got a comment here from Mike saying there's also accountability on the child's behalf and the parents as well. Some things just aren't tolerable. As a parent, just give your kid the benefit of the doubt, defend them when it's necessary, but also have some FaceTime with them, like you say. And man, like my listeners know, because I've said this 100 times on the air, that every single night at 6 o'clock it was dinner time at our house, and Mom would unplug the phone from the wall. This was back in the 80s, so there were no cell phones. TV was off, phone was unplugged, and we were uninterrupted as a family. My brother and I, with the four of us, we all sat around the table. And it was, how was your day? Good. What was good about it? What was bad about it? We were forced to have that conversation. And, Tom and I have talked about that as it was our family version of Circle. But, man, it was. I know that that's not the reality today. People are going 100 miles an hour in different directions, and, make yourself some dinner, microwave, get it on the go. It's a different world, man. We all need to do a better job as a parent. And then, you got sweethearts and heroes coming in here, and they're trying to instill in these children what they may not be getting from home. Be a better person. Don't bully. Recognize bullying. Help others. Stand up. Have some integrity. And these are things that, with Sweethearts and Heroes, teaching this as a foundation and then allowing these kids to learn this and spread it amongst themselves in their own schools, so that Sweethearts and Heroes doesn't always have to be boots on the ground in your school. This is the kind of stuff that is going to maybe make the teacher's job a little easier to teach the things that the kids should be learning. I don't know. I know it's a mouthful, bro, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. I think more and more has fallen on the shoulders of schools, right? So, what I will say is, when we're getting these kids a phone, there is some developmental readiness, right, and some responsibility about having a phone. We're constantly catching up. These kids were immersed in the digital world.
Oh yeah,
the digital world is their social world.
Sure.
So we with the parent hat on, we did have some rules. There's no phones at the dining room table.
Yeah, right.
When our kids were younger, there was a time where those phones had to go into our bedroom, and they were charged in our room. The phones weren't in their rooms, right? So looking at their phones and having access to their phones, and there's all kinds of apps there where kids can hide an app and be communicating or doing some things that you don't want your child to do. So, I think about, how many kids go into their bedroom and close their bedroom door, and they're quiet, but do we know what they're doing? Do we know what they're engaged in, whether it's a gaming device or online or using their phones? Do we know what they're saying and what they're doing and what they're filling their heads with? So, it's not just that easy that, my kid's asking, hey, I want a cell phone. I want a cell phone. And I hear it a lot of times, like, my kid's going to have a cell phone. I want to be able to contact them anytime I want to contact them, so, with that, there's some readiness, right? And there's tremendous responsibility. So constantly reminding your kids about the responsibility that's associated with having that device in your hand, And we talk to our kids like, you may think it's innocent. You push out a picture, you push that picture out, that picture's out there, right? Like it's out there for good. But I do feel like things fall on the shoulders of schools where something might happen on a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon, and we get the phone call like, hey, this happened via social media, or this was pushed out, and it happened in your house too. So it's important. There's a balance there, right? School and home working together, and we need to know. And a lot of things that happen in the outside world of school trickles into school. So it's been a challenge. But so far this year, I think we've had 3 cell phone violations in our building. Where
That's it.
Yeah, I mean it's part of our culture. Like you come in and before you go to home base, the cell phones are out of sight. When the 9th period bell rings, end of the day, your cell phones can come back out. Like if your parents left you a message that's important about practice or where you're going after school, you have access to that. So we did some different things. We put hard lines in each house office so kids have a phone to use if they have to contact their parent during the day. Every classroom has a phone. We survived it, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Kids do need a little break, right? Like they do. I challenge adults sometimes. Like you have a faculty meeting and tell faculty to put their phone on the table in front of them, face down, and then ask them at the end how many had an urge to pick up the phone and look at it, right? Like it becomes almost an obsession that we got to constantly check the phone. Did somebody text us? Did somebody post something? Did I get an email? Like we need a break. Like it's a lot.
I got ticked off at Tom the other day. I was like, Tom, man, I texted you, bro. Where are you, man? What's going on? He says, I'm in school. I don't have my cell phone in school.
Yeah, Tom will get back to you, but that's why there's a little bit of mutual respect there too. Right?
Sure.
Like Tom does practice what he preaches.
I know.
We do have to be cognizant that the digital world is their social world too. So there's a balance in there a little bit too.
Yeah, you guys understand, and Tom really understands that too. That these devices for so many are the conduit, the connectivity to their social culture, which is so important. But have you had pushback with? I'm guessing Goff Middle School does not allow cell phones.
We haven't. We banned them 3 years ago, and
what?
I got to be honest.
3 years ago.
Yeah, there's nobody that could change my mindset on that. Like, there's 24 hours in a day. For 6.5 hours a day here in school, it's a nice break, right? Like you look at statistics of how many hours a day kids are online. We want our kids focused. We work with the Chamber of Commerce. What do we hear from the Chamber of Commerce? Like, hey, workers may have a skill set, they may have academic success and talents, but the soft skills are lacking. We hire somebody and they can't take it. They can't work 5 days a week. They show up late. They that they don't have soft skills. They can't communicate. They can't interact with others. They can't work cooperatively. You can't tell me that cell phones haven't impacted that, right? Like,
yeah, right.
We'll make eye contact, engage, interact, develop relationships. There's no need for that cell phone for the academic period. And, I respect the fact that people don't agree with that, but you're not going to change my mindset on that one. I have no regrets about going cell phone free.
But you've had some pretty good pushback from students and parents?
Not really. Early on, we surveyed, and again, we were pushing out articles and we were pushing out studies and information to our stakeholders that talked about the impact that cell phones had on social emotional wellness, on academic success. How many kids didn't go to school because of something that was said in a group text the day before? Like, we shared that information, right? So again, we were also cognizant of the age group and where our kids are, right? So when we first did it, we communicated it in advance. We surveyed our stakeholders. Our faculty and staff overwhelmingly were in favor of it. Parents, the large majority, were in favor of it, but there was a lot of pushback. We had to remind parents that there's a phone in every single classroom, that You can call us anytime. We can get your kid in a matter of seconds. There were a couple of cases where parents were like, my kid's going to have their phone. There's a medical exemption. So, we understand that sometimes kids monitor blood sugar and there's medical necessity why they need to have a device or a smartwatch. And we make those exceptions. But, I'd give my own personal number out. I was like, I'll tell you what, your kid's not going to have their phone here. Like, we're going to follow our code of conduct, but here's my number. You need to get hold of your child, call me right on my personal cell phone. I'll walk right to your kid's class and get them for you. So,
wow.
It got better in time. We talk about faculty and staff, right? Like this isn't a kid thing. This is everybody, right? Like 6.5-hour academic day, faculty, staff, put your cell phones away. Like put them away. Like don't want to walk by your classroom and see on your cell phone. Don't want to see you in the hallway with earbuds on and listening to music. Don't want to see you in the hallways, in the cafeteria on your phone. That cell phone, no cell phone is for everybody that walks in this building.
That's amazing, Jim, to hear that. Finally, this morning, and God bless you, and thank you so much for all of your time. What a gift. But finally this morning, what do you say, Jim, to any parent, any administrator, any school watching, listening, who has yet to discover Sweethearts and Heroes?
I got to be honest. You have to self-reflect a little bit and talk about what's your mission. What's important. What is the most important thing? The important responsibility, right? Parents send their kids off to us and entrust us that we have their child's best interest, right? So safety is the number one thing, right? And the safety is just not locking doors and making sure there's secure access and secure vestibules. And safety is that kids feel a sense of belonging here, right? So there is no other priority except for that. That's the goal, right? So I think you couldn't find anything else, that fits that goal and serves that purpose and that mission in Sweethearts and Heroes, right? So, besides Tom coming into work with faculty and staff, besides Tom working with our students, just having that connection and relationship with Tom where we talk about things that we're seeing, things that we're experiencing. And, Tom will send me stuff to read. And again, it's what we fill our heads with, right? But Sweethearts and Heroes hits the mission, right, of serving students and serving them and creating cultures and climates of kindness and respect. So there's no better fit.
19 pillows. I mean, I know he's given you some homework, as you just suggested. He's given me some too. I mean, it's absolutely remarkable what he has done, what he and his team have done at Sweethearts and Heroes, and what they continue to do. Jim, I only hope I can meet you someday. I hope.
It's been a pleasure, JD. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and I hope you're able to sneak on again. I really appreciate all your time, Jim.
Again, happy anniversary. Have a great day.
Thank you, my friend. Jim McHugh, right there, the $6 million man joining us this morning. Absolutely amazing story. And like I said, when we first started out this morning, I hope you're going to take this one with you. I hope this episode this morning is going to reverberate with you for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, and well into next week, if you're able to. I mean, just spread the message, if you can, as well, of the $6 million man. Share this episode, if you can, with anyone that you think could be affected by it in any way. It is Wednesday. A couple of things to talk about here. $5 Wednesdays at the Paramount Theater. One of our presenting sponsors. You get to skip the line. You get to, fgbtheaters.com. Skip the line. Get right to the front. Follow them on Instagram. Get on Facebook. Did I say $5 Wednesdays at the Paramount Theater? Right here in the Granite City? Yes, I did. get out to a movie. It is a perfect weather forecast for movie weather. I did just that yesterday. Saw the Roof Man. Incredible. Another thing that I want to mention, which is really big, of course, is Wellness Wednesday. It's, I don't want to say every Wednesday, but it's quite often on Wednesdays, and I always let you know about it. This is your opportunity to leave your wallet at home. Everything is free. Get over to the Well Space Building right here in Barrie, 23 Summer Street, and enjoy some free peace. Maybe a table massage, back massage, acupuncture, acupressure, mindfulness meditation. They're even doing yoga. They're introducing yoga into the mix for Wellness Wednesday. Washington County Mental Health has been putting this on for a long time now, several years. And about 10,000 Vermonters have benefited in some way, directly or indirectly, from Washington County Mental Health in just the last year alone. We thank them for being a presenting sponsor here at Aired Out, and we thank them for bringing stuff like this into our community. Wellness Wednesday. It is today, 23 Summer Street, right here in Barrie, 4:30. Almost forgot to mention that. That's when it starts. Goes all the way to 7 o'clock. If you would like a massage, times book up. All right, so you need to get on the list. You need to call Robin, and I'm going to give you the phone number. As a matter of fact, I'll put it in the comments here too, in case you're not able to write it down. It's so easy. Just call Robin at 479-4055 and reserve your time for a table massage. Maybe have a cup of tea. Just sit and relax. It's good stuff. It's great stuff. And it's going on today. Also happening, and I hope Glenn Brummert is watching and listening. What an episode yesterday. Holy cow. It's Wing Wednesday over at the VFW, Post 790, right here in Barrie, 5 o'clock. Might even be 4:30 is when they start cooking up the wings. Donna Thunder is often rocking out over there doing the live music. She calls it Wing-a-Ding. I'm not surprised. But she always brings the fun, the good music, the laughter, the positivity. Get yourself over to the VFW Post 790 right here in Barrie tonight for Wing Wednesday. What else do I have here on my list? There's so much going on. The community calendar's jammed. Brought to you by The World, Central Vermont's favorite weekly newspaper. Most of us know that. 22,000 plus Vermonters having a glance at The World every single week. It's amazing. vt-world.com for the digital version. Tomorrow being Thursday, Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice is hosting a Chamber of Commerce mixer, and it is open to the public. Everyone is welcome. It is tomorrow, 5 to 6:30. Get together. Learn how and why Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice delivers the level of care that it does in our community and has been for a gazillion years, like 100 years, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's a great opportunity, too, to get together when the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce does these mixers. Everyone's invited. You don't have to be a chamber member. They do raffles. They get together. They have some snacks. Really good snacks, too. And trust me, if I say they're good snacks, they're good snacks. Great food, great drink. Get together with your neighbors, connect with your community, and learn more about Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice. They are the host of the Chamber of Commerce Mixer tomorrow night, 5 o'clock. And I believe that's taking place right over at Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice. But we'll be posting about it for sure between now and tomorrow. What else is happening tomorrow on Thursdays? Bingo at the Canadian Club every Thursday, 7 o'clock. Friday is, and it's my you should see my calendar. It's jammed with stuff. Friday is going to be crazy. Trunk or treat going on over at Montpelier Volkswagen and Mazda from 4 to 7. As if, and I posted this, it is so true, as if you needed another reason why Montpelier Mazda and Montpelier Volkswagen is the dealership that everyone is talking about here in Central Vermont. Community. It's what they do. First and foremost, way before selling cars, they're dialed into their community. They've got the biggest Halloween trunk or treat coming. And it's, again, Friday from 4 to 7. They've got a kids' costume parade, trunk or treat goodie bags, Halloween music, a dunk tank, cotton candy, hot dogs from Rocky's Hot Dog Stand. Everything's free. Hocus Pocus balloon art, ice cream from Avalee's Sweet Treats, magic from Vermont Close-Up Magic, and plenty of Halloween candy in the trunks of many creepy cars. They're going to be decked out. The number 25 Thunder Road late model driver, Mike Rubacabla, is going to be there with his car. Cameron Beatty, the number 45 Kids Division driver at Thunder Road and White Mountain Motorsports Park, he's going to be there as well. State Police, Vermont DMV, also going to be there. And the businesses that have supported this event on Friday over at Montpelier Volkswagen and Mazda, look at this. Casella, One Credit Union, Noel W. Johnson Insurance, Pasumsic Bank, and those are just some of them. So come on out, participate. You don't have to register if you would like to be one of the trunks that the kids will be getting their treats in. Just show up, decorate, have fun. It's safe, it's free. It's going to be a good time. I'm also going to be running up to the mall at some point and going live with Annie up there because the 24th is Malloween at the Berlin Mall, Central Vermont Marketplace. That's happening. I'm just glancing here. There's just it's jammed. Carvin for K, you're going to hear me talking a lot about that. Still trying to find out some more details about the Williamstown Pumpkin Show, which I am not finding out, but I'm hoping that someone will be in touch with me about that. Yeah. I can't believe it's already the 15th of the month. I'm hopeful that you will have a marvelous rest of your day. I'm hopeful that you have found some inspiration through this morning's podcast with Jim McHugh, the $6 million man, and that he will and has instilled something in you that you'll carry away today and share with others, whether they're other parents, administrators, faculty at any school, anywhere, especially here in Central Vermont. We need sweethearts and heroes to get into more schools. It is definitely something that should be done. And what an honor it is for me, personally, professionally, and everything in between, to be associated and connected with Sweethearts and Heroes and to have them as my featured Wednesday slot here. Once a week, every Wednesday, Sweethearts and Heroes. You're going to get nothing but positivity on the airways when these guys are on. And I love them so much. Great people. Marvelous is the word that I'm hoping that you will have for the rest of your day. I know the clouds and the drizzle and everything, but be positive. Okay? You only have so much time on this crazy planet. Have fun. Smile. Be good. We'll see you tomorrow with G. Yeah, he'll be in right here where you are now. Aired Out Podcast.